order, please.
Well, you want to know, there ain't no effing onions.
Provisions of the Open
trying to
Public
spell it.
Meetings Law.
Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law, adequate public notice that this meeting has been given. By a publication in the required newspapers, the date, time, and location of this meeting within 48 hours in advance. By posting advance written notice on the official bulletin board in the municipal building. By filing advance written notice with the township clerk for the purpose of public inspection.
At this time, we ask everyone to please turn off all cell phones or pages, either off or vibrate. Roll call of officials present.
Committeeman Melchiondo.
Here.
Committeeman Lasella.
Here.
Committeeman Morano.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Billy.
Here.
Mayor Cerulli.
Here. Invocation by Reverend Christopher Ryan, please.
Mr. Pesci, you gonna throw me a fastball? Is this
Curve,
on?
baby.
Is it on? Is it on, Jeff? Can you hear me?
Yes. Don't throw your curve.
Well, Lord, here we are again, another meeting in a challenging year fiscally and otherwise. And we just call on you. You tell us in your word that you're our helper. So we want to be in your court to run this township and to run our own personal lives as we cooperate with each other to bring you glory here and to live peaceful lives. So we say, Lord, if there's any area in our lives personally or corporately as a township that you want to do some upgrade or correction or whatever, help yourself that we might walk and talk and live godly lives here in this township. In our Savior's name, Jesus, we pray.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody please rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Resolution 2012-125.
Resolution authorizing the township committee to retire into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel, public safety, contractual, and litigation matters.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second?
Roll call.
Committeeman Lasella.
Yes.
Committeeman Morano.
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiondo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy.
Yes.
Mayor Cerulli.
Yes. I think we only need about 10 minutes.
Choice finance. You can find extra money. Watch. 90 grand every year. Big cuts. You got the papers now. You're on the board. What? Yeah, can you be by him? That really hurts. Somebody else I wouldn't have mind.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order, please. All right, we'll start off with the mayor's report. On February 8, 2012, I had the opportunity to speak before 100 mayors and a panel of Governor Christie's cabinet members. I brought to their attention the serious tax assessment issue that are creating havoc with our tax rate and the crushing burden it's putting on our residents. Committeeman Lasella and our business administrator and I will be meeting with the acting commissioner, Richard Constable III of the Department of Community Affairs this Thursday at 4 p.m. in Trenton. We will request that he give us, as well as other municipalities, a mechanism to stabilize taxes when real estate prices crash. We already know what we need to do, but we need his blessing, his permission. I will report back the results of this meeting at the March 5th Township meeting. On Reorganization Day, January 1st, 2012, I stated that this committee had a plan and that extraordinary measures would be implemented which will serve as a model for other municipalities for saving money through shared services. On February 8th, we held a joint shared service meeting with the Township of Ocean. At this meeting, we passed 6 resolutions, 3 of which will allow Barnegat to reduce operating expenses approximately $311,000 over the next year and a half. We were able to eliminate 3 director positions with our administrator, which our administrator Dave Breeden will detail in a PowerPoint presentation. Also passed were resolutions 2012-122 for shared services with Ocean City, and resolution 2012-121 shared services with Stafford Township. Mr. Breeden and I also met with the president of our volunteer EMS squad and discussed their 5-year plan and their immediate needs. Earlier this year, a driver under the influence hit and totaled one of our first responder vehicles. Tonight we will vote on replacing that vehicle with the insurance money from the accident in combination with some money that was bonded for the December in 2011 for equipment, because the vehicle wasn't new, so we didn't get the total value of that. In closing, there are 3 issues of concern that unfortunately I must address. This committee will answer any and all questions relating to township business, but expects those coming up to the podium to do so in a respectful manner. Yelling out, personal attacks, and inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated and will be dealt with in an appropriate manner. Secondly, from time to time, an individual may feel that a committee has violated state statute regarding procedure. We welcome any and all comments and will correct any errors we might inadvertently make. We always check with our legal counsel and have our solicitor explain the law to the objector. Sometimes we will get an individual who just will not accept the facts and end up costing the taxpayers needlessly. The township will seek to recover these expenses in blatant instances. Lastly, the Township Committee and the Board of Education settled an issue at the last township meeting and through subsequent communications. I have been in contact with the superintendent and also the board president at least twice since. Yet, Mrs. Mary Ann Clementi has taken it upon herself to be the self-appointed spokesperson for the Board of Ed through her smoke and mirror comments. I spoke with Board President Lisa Becker this morning and brought this to her attention. She sent me an email which she said I could read this evening, and it eloquently reads as follows. Dear Mayor Cerulli, in response to your call this morning, I would just like to reiterate the following, which you can share with your fellow committee members. While the Barnegat Board of Education respects all citizens' rights to express their opinions, we most certainly have no control over statements that may be wrongly implied forms of representation. Please be advised and rest assured that only the superintendent, the board president, vice president, or their designee is authorized to speak on behalf of the board or the majority of the district. As you and I have both reiterated in public and through the media, we consider the recent situation to have been appropriately addressed and are only interested in moving forward. I hope that if any of the members of the committee or public for that matter have any questions or concerns, that they feel free to reach out to the Board of Education directly, and that was sincerely Mrs. Lisa Becker. So, in other words, and I won't be as ineloquent, Mrs. Clementi does not speak for the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed does not wish to continue this. The Township Committee's only concern was that it be brought out to the public that there was a surplus. The board admitted to that. The matter was closed. To continue to keep running this would only cause further problems, and in the long run will hurt not only the relationship between both boards, but will also obviously hurt the children. And that's all I have to say on that. All right, next. We have Committeeman Melfiando.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few brief things. Just want to report from the police department that in 2011, they reported an 8% reduction in traffic violations over the year prior, which is a good thing, I guess, but they attribute a lot of that to the fact that their accreditation processes that, and the fact that they get more out to the community has helped, people understand what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, and the results are down, which 8%, which is a great thing. The Economic Development Committee met last week, and they're working ahead towards some more signage throughout the town to make make people aware of some of the areas in town and what's available down at our waterfront. We're working on that. It's taking a little time, but we should see a big major sign hopefully this year on the corner of Bay Shore, Barnegat Boulevard, and Route 9, attracting people down to our waterfront and what's available down there. And the Chamber of Commerce, not a whole lot to report there as yet, but their next meeting in March is going to be held at Lefty's for any chamber members or anyone who likes to, would like to go to the chamber meeting. We meet there once every quarter. We have, they have some, little hors d'oeuvres and snacks and foods and whatever. It's a $10 cover charge for anybody. And that's open to any business, whether you're a chamber member or not, and you want to come to the chamber meeting, whether it be at the ones we normally hold at the Barnegat Nursing Home or at Lefty's once every quarter. You're always welcome to show up for there. And once at the nursing home, we have continental breakfast 8 o'clock in the morning, first Thursday of the month, and that's free. So you have to go to the free one or pay the $10, that's up to you. And basically that's it for me, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Committeeman Lasella.
Thank you, Mayor. As you stated, we'll be going Thursday to Trenton, and I'm really looking forward to this meeting, and hopefully it'll be more productive than when we met with the county to get a resolution to this problem that we constantly face. My office has also been doing a great job in furnishing the residents of this town for some tax appeals that they feel that they're entitled to. And I'd like to thank the staff at my office for helping out the residents of this town. I also, at this point, would like to thank Dave Breeden for his countless hours that he put in for all his efforts for our shared services that got us to this point right now. I know he was working day and night, 7 days a week. And Dave, I'd like to personally thank you for that effort. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Committeeman Morano.
Thank you. First, we have a lot of good plans down at Dock this year. We'll have some good bands and we'll have a lot of fun. That's progressing along, and everybody should come out every Saturday night. I've also had some Sunday nights with no cost to the taxpayers. People are getting in, coming, and they want to be involved. So I'd like to see everybody down there. It starts the 4th of July, and we're going to have a real good time. Secondly, I'd like to just go, my opinion, to the Hovnanian development that's going out West Bay Avenue. Again, my opinion. I feel that this township should have a resolution passed that we oppose the governor's plan to let residential from senior development to residential. The impact is going to be terrible if it goes through. If our planning board passes it, the impact on the schools and the impact on the taxpayer in this town, and again, this is my opinion, will be terrible. You're going to have 300 residential homes, which will cause more busing, 13,000 students. I think we're in big trouble. I feel we should tell Trenton, let them know. We should oppose it. And again, this is my personal opinion. The impact will be too great for the people of Barnegat. On that note, I'd like to see everybody get together and pass some kind of statement, send it to the governor saying,
If I could ask a question, I think the governor changed it, correct?
Mayor, I'd just like to make the committee aware that that application is before the planning board right now.
Correct.
It's in the process. A decision has not been made yet, so I would caution the committee against any action on that particular application until the planning board had an opportunity to fully review it and vote on it.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think the legislature and the governor reversed that, didn't they? And this track just got in under the wire for that?
Right, that is true. Probably by 2 days, they got their application in, Mayor, underneath of the wire, because I think, it's an opinion, they may have realized that this was not such a good idea, and now the legislature has let that fall by the wayside, but Hovnanian got in like 2 days, I think, before it expired in November.
And may I, Dave, I think it's very, very important here that this committee does not taint the planning board application.
Right.
That's critical. In other words, this application is before the planning board, they must make that decision first. We shouldn't have anything to say about it, we really shouldn't
No,
have
we won't.
any opinion. Even though everybody's entitled to an opinion, but an opinion, especially by resolution or anything by this board, would absolutely be the wrong thing to do. And I think that,
No, we're not gonna do that.
right, we really shouldn't do that whatsoever. Thank you.
You finished? Thanks, man. Deputy Mayor, Billy?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On February 14th, I did attend and give a presentation to about 100 people in the room for the Southern Ocean County Chamber of Commerce. It was a nice event. I brought up, in my personal opinion, I just want to make Barnegat a better place to live, an even better place to live. But we have obstacles, and the economy is hurting us, like the A&P closing, Gennardi's is on the brink. We hear things, but we're not going to come out with anything official because we don't know anything for sure. On the other hand, we did pass, there's a new bank and an STS coming where the old Luke Oil was, and Barnegat Crossing is moving some dirt around. Whether or not we get ahead with that, we don't know. As far as that and that also came up with the Fifth Street track. I am on the planning board, I cannot comment on that. I'll save my comments for next week on the planning board. And one of the biggest things was that they were people from the tourism department, and of course they were very proud and happy, and they showed us all kinds of films about the Super Bowl coming to I don't know if you can say Giant Stadium, it's MetLife Stadium in 2014. So that was a big presentation, but it was enjoyable, and then I tried to listen to comments about what the other towns are facing, and a lot of them are facing exact same things we are, with assessments, with closing of stores. It's just the economy in general and the whole situation that we're in. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Dave?
Mayor, I have a PowerPoint presentation I'd like to do this evening, the same presentation that we did in Ocean Township on
Absolutely.
February 8th.
Might not have it here.
It's right here.
Planning and zoning, I just want to see it.
No, it's sorry to read.
Oh, he's going out? Going for smoke.
Turn off the lights.
No, it's coming up now.
Yeah. Can everybody see that? Is that better? Okay, this is a handout. Everybody should have a handout. It was next to the door as you walked in. As I stated earlier, this is the exact same presentation that we made on February 8th in the joint meeting between Barnegat and Ocean Township at the Waretown Firehouse. At that meeting, as Mayor Cerulli indicated, we reviewed the history of shared services between the two towns. In addition to that, we established what I would call significant, meaningful shared service agreements in the area of tax collection, recreation, and planning and zoning that will realize significant cost savings for the residents of Barnegat, but yet at the same time maintain an acceptable level of service. We have to recognize some trends in the state of New Jersey. The state of New Jersey is promoting, encouraging, pushing towns to either consolidate or to engage in shared services. Consolidation is when two towns become one. That was recently done at the Princeton Borough, Princeton Township. That process took roughly 30 to 35 years to accomplish, and at least 3 public referendums before it passed. The consolidation process, for the most part, is not a popular process because Many residents fear that they will lose their town's identity. With regards to Ocean and Barnegat, we have no desire to consolidate. We are accomplishing what we need to accomplish with regards to shared services. Goal of both consolidation and shared services is to save money, is to reduce the size and cost of government. And we're accomplishing that goal with shared services. Some history of the shared services between the two towns. We took phase one, which was basically an informal understanding between the two towns. No formal agreements, no contracts. Just when one town needed help, they picked up the phone and called the other town. Most of that pertained to public works, water and sewer. Maybe some equipment, parts, supplies, stuff like that. Most of the impact was operational. Phase two was in 2010 when both townships decided to share an administrator. Phase three was 2011 in which both townships shared uniform construction code inspectors, public works resources, in addition to entering into a joint solid waste contract. And phase four would be expanded shared services, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Like I said, phase one was informal understanding, minor financial impact. Most of the impact was with regards to operations, and that informal understanding was mainly handled on the street. Foremen in public works departments talking to each other. We have a truck down, we need a part, do you have the part? We need a backhoe for a couple hours to dig a hole. That was informal. That started basically in 2006 between the two towns. Phase two, or part two, in April 2010, as a result of the administrator, full-time administrator departing from Ocean Township, it was decided to try sharing administrators. At first, it was a 3-year experiment that turned into a 3-month experiment, which turned into a 6-month experiment, which ultimately turned into a permanent solution to managing the two towns at a reduced cost. As a result of the agreement, Barnegat generates roughly $50,000 in revenue. Ocean Township realizes cost savings of roughly $100,000. Total position value of the administrator in Ware Town or Ocean Township was $150,000 in 2010 dollars. Phase three in 2011, both townships started to share uniform construction code inspectors. As a result of construction activity decreasing in both towns, the inspectors were not as busy. Ware Town or Ocean Township reduced the number of inspectors they had by 2, and Barnegat inspectors went over to Ocean to do their inspection work. That arrangement has worked out very nicely. Ware Town or Ocean Township has been able to reduce their operating expense. Barnegat generates revenue, and at the same time, we're able to maintain jobs of dedicated, committed employees. You can see the UCC inspections dropping over the years. Again, Barnegat generated roughly $65,000 in revenue from the UCC inspectors in 2011. We didn't start that to April. Ocean Township reduced full-time staffing by 2, was able to save $95,000, and again, we're able to keep dedicated, hard-working employees on the payroll. Phase 3, sharing public works resources. This also started in 2010. Street sweeper. Barnegat sweeps both Barnegat Township and Ocean Township. Sometimes we use the Barnegat sweeper. Sometimes we use the Ocean Township sweeper. In addition, we dump all our street sweepings at a dry pad in Ocean Township. The dry pad was recently built by Ocean Township at a cost of roughly $50,000. In addition, we manufacture signs for Ocean Township. Ocean Township provides their roll-off truck to us for our dumpsters, and each town helps each other whenever there's a need for assistance. In addition, as Mayor Cerulli indicated, we also entered into a shared service agreement with the City of Ocean City to design and manufacture their street and traffic signs. One of the biggest accomplishments or milestones with this shared service is the joint solid waste contract. In 2011, both towns went out in a joint contract, and as a result, significant savings were realized. Prior to the contract, Barnegat was paying $9.07 per month per house for trash collection. As a result of the new contract, we're paying $5.33. 41% reduction. On average, we're saving over $31,000 per month. Waretown had the same impact. They're saving roughly $13,000 a month. And as you can see, over the 5 years of the contract, it goes from $533 to $577. Greatly reduced from what we were paying before. Again, it was a very competitive contract. We were able to combine the households of both towns and realize significant savings. At the meeting on February 8th, we adopted resolutions. Both towns adopted resolutions at the same time to enter into shared service agreements for tax collector, zoning officer, and recreation director. Barnegat let go 3 full-time permanent employees, and the Ocean Township employees will be coming over to Barnegat to perform their services. The Ocean Township tax collector will be coming over to Barnegat. The Ocean Township recreation director will be coming over here to manage recreational activities. All 3 have started. They hit the ground running, and we feel very confident that this arrangement will work very well. When the Ocean Township employees are in Barnegat, Barnegat will be paying them. The 3 employees in Barnegat had a total position value of $311,000. Those 3 positions in Ocean have a total position value of $250,000. We figured that the Ocean Township employees will be over here between 35 and 40% of the time. Therefore, we're liable for 35 to 40% of the $250,000. There's questions. How can the Ocean Township employees come over here and do the work? Some answers. Number 1, efficiency with experience. As you gain experience with the job, you become better at it. Think of your first day at work. You don't know any phone numbers, you don't know any names. After a few years, you can do your functions quicker. Advances in technology. Technology makes the job easier. You're not tied to a desk. You can answer email on the fly, on the go. Solid support staff. In Barnegat Township, we have solid support staff in all those 3 offices. And the staff in those offices have embraced this change, recognized that this is a trend, and are working diligently to make sure that this works. Decrease in activity, particularly with zoning. As we can see, zoning permits have dropped between 30 and 40% in both towns. When you add both towns, zoning permits in 2011 comes out to 4 zoning permits per day. We determined that 4 permits per day, the zoning officer should be able to handle both towns. And we will continue to look at shared service possibilities. One thing I've discovered with shared services, you start off easy with the stuff that you know you can do well. Be successful, then build upon your successes. A lot of people say, why don't you consolidate police? Well, that's tough. That's one of the last ones that you'll tackle. Do the easy ones first. Public works, water and sewer. Be successful. Generate revenue, reduce expenses, and build upon your successes. So essentially, that was the PowerPoint presentation that we did in Waretown on February 8th. After that presentation, both governing bodies adopted the necessary resolutions to put into action the 3 additional shared services in tax collection, recreation, and planning and zoning. That's all I have with regards to the PowerPoint, Mayor. I do have some items I'd like to go over on the agenda. Page 3 of the agenda, Resolution 2012-134, resolution authorizing a maintenance service contract for the Barnegat Police Department for subscription advantage. That's for the GPS units in the police cars. Annual amount of $675 per year. Resolution 2012-135, resolution authorizing a maintenance agreement with Guardian Tracking. That is the human resource software package that the police department uses, consistent with the requirements of accreditation. On page 4, resolution 2012-136, resolution approving a generator maintenance contract. Barnegat Township has 20 emergency generators spread throughout the town. This contract is for $9,900 and provides a annual maintenance inspection and oil change. Resolution 2012-137, a maintenance service contract to Tektron for police radios for $7,800 per year. That provides a semi-annual inspection of certain radio components, in addition to establishing hourly rates for repair. Resolution 2012-142, resolution that the governing body of Barnegat Township has reviewed general comments and recommendations of the 2010 audit. The audit has 9 comments. It is an unqualified audit. You can basically have 4 different types of audits: unqualified, qualified, adverse, and no comment. An unqualified audit is an audit in which there's no major deficiencies or deviations from established accounting policy or procedure. A qualified audit is an audit that has 1 or 2 deviations. An adverse audit means look for a different line of work, start over, your records are horrible, and no comment means there wasn't enough information to render an opinion. Barnegat Township got an unqualified opinion, a clean opinion. We had 9 recommendations. Some of them were minor in nature. 4 of them were with the court, 2 were with recreation. Resolution 2012-144, resolution endorsing a lease contract for a copy machine. With copy machines, you never want to own a copy machine. You want to lease it on state contract for $169 a month. We get everything with that copy machine, with the exception of paper. We get the toner, we get the ink, we get service, we get staples. It's the way to go. Resolution 2012-147, authorizing purchase of state contract for various firefighting equipment. Back in December, Township Committee authorized the bond ordinance and allocated $300,000 to Barnegat Volunteer Fire Company for the purchase of firefighting equipment and supplies. This purchase is for roughly $22,000. And finally, Resolution 2012-149, executing a state contract for the purchase of 1 Chevy Tahoe for the Barnegat First Aid Squad. As the mayor indicated, the previous vehicle was totaled in an accident. We are using the proceeds from that in addition to some bond money to acquire the vehicle for roughly $31,000. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah. Thank you. As a result of closed session, we have 2 additional resolutions that we would add to the agenda. Resolution 2012-151, resolution authorizing the township to advertise for 2 part-time court clerks. Resolution 2012-152, resolution authorizing agreement with the Barnegat Township Superior Officers Association for a 3-year contract. That 3-year contract spans from January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2013. It allows for 1.95% increases per year. However, for 2011, they do not get that salary increase to mid-December, so they forego their salary increase for 11.5 months in December. As a result of this contract, over the 3 years, the total salary increase for the 15 officers, part of this organization, will be roughly $77,000. The amount of health care contribution that we will collect from these officers during the 3 years will be roughly $105,000. So we are collecting more in health care contribution than they are receiving in cost of living increase. In addition, this contract also eliminates the detective stipend of 10% and formally eliminates the K-9 stipend of 10%. Thank you, Mayor.
Just going back to 2012-151, we had our,
I'll explain it. Resolution 2012-151, resolution authorizing the township to advertise for 2 part-time court clerks. In 2010 and 2011, the municipal court of the township of Barnegat had 3 full-time court employees.
as a result of personnel action taken at the end of 2011, the municipal court now has 2 full-time employees, down 1 full-time employee. Instead of hiring 1 full-time employee, the township has elected to hire 2 part-time people, therefore saving on health care and pension costs, yet at the same time providing needed coverage of the court.
And the part-timers won't be operating at the same time, in other words, they won't be on the job at the same time each day.
The part-timers will cover, the part-timers' schedule would be established based upon demand and workload of the court. The court administrator and deputy administrator have certain functions that they must perform in a timely manner. The primary duty of the clerks will be to sit at the window and collect fines.
Do I have a motion open to the public?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Public is welcome to comment. Mr. Chekia, please come on up front. State your name and address.
Yeah, I will. 12 Windward Drive, Buffalo, New Jersey. 08005142103. I would love to speak to you. I'd like to have a copy of what you said about, you're making a threat. That was a threat. We'll read it and we'll go to an attorney. Now, just to let you guys know something, you'll never do whatever you did before again. I can guarantee you that. The other is, this is my time. No one ever knew that I filed the complaint until you people opened your mouths at the last meeting. Did you know that? Now, if I want to get particular, rather than have them ask you, because it's in black and white, what do you consider sidewalks and paperwork that Ms. Janoski did for the research coming from a BlackBerry at 10:57 to David, to you, and to you? 3 councilmen, plus the questions between that time span of 10:57 and 1 o'clock at the council, 4 of you knew about what was going on. You had 3 of you, at least. 1, 2, 3. That constitutes a meeting. But remember something, as I did say to Mr. Dasty one night, I asked about if the word hybrid assessment or reassessment was in the state language or any statute or any law. He gave me an answer the next day and said, Phil, you're right, it don't exist. Neither does the excuse for 5 of you meeting for the mere discussion of township business. Now, if it wasn't township business that you were discussing, was it baseball, football, new cars, the Super Bowl, and the township officer was just like I said, jibber jabber? But I can rest assured that if ever you think that the people will take that as a threat, under the law that we have to, you have to abide by, that we have a right to file a complaint. Nobody file a lawsuit. Because if you are found guilty of it, they will file a lawsuit. And you will have to pay that yourselves, not the town. Now, just don't do it again. That's all I'm asking. If you're going to have a press conference, if you think it's a press conference and you're all going to be there, you better rest assured tell the people of the town that you're going to have a press conference that's going to discuss township business. Mere discussion. There's no ifs, buts, or ands in the law. Doesn't say press conference. I've researched 50 states and the federal law, and nowhere does it state what you people think that you did right. Now, no one knew about that until you opened your mouth.
Who opened their mouth?
At the township meeting 2 weeks ago, no one knew about that complaint. A couple of people did.
Who opened it?
You did. You the guys that brought it up.
Was it in the newspaper?
No, it wasn't. It was after the meeting it was in the
I'm not
paper.
gonna argue, whatever it was.
Okay.
So what's your point with
The
that?
point is, no one would have ever known about it. But I can tell you this, if you do it again, I'll file it again. And I welcome you to try to collect, because I don't know what thousands you're talking about. It didn't cost us a dime.
I didn't say anything about
Okay.
money. I didn't
Now,
mention money.
the other thing is, and I'm going to get very particular, are we following the IRS rules, particularly on vehicles? Because I remember when I had a car that was given to me by my office, I had to pay X amount of percentage for personal use. And the county, yes, 1099s. The county also makes some of those workers pay at least $9 a day to go to and from work. Now, gas, tolls, to deprive Mr. Breeden of anything. He has a right to negotiate for what he can negotiate, and I give him all the credit in the world, because I did the same thing. But, you better cover our butts, and make sure that he's 1099, since he's been using his car, tolls, etc., etc. 1099 is a very important piece of documentation. If you don't give it, we suffer. We get penalized as the taxpayer, and also the corporation and or the company that employs him. You have to go back now, all those years that he's been here. The tolls to and from work can't be deducted, that's income. Your mileage, that doesn't count, he can't deduct mileage. His gas, and the use of the vehicle. Now, I also want to make a request that any township vehicle must have municipal government plates on it, okay? Unless it's an undercover car, etc. I can't get involved in that. With a seal on the side that says Barnegat Township for official use only. The same as the state, the same as what all the levels of government have, including the federal government and the motor pool. And you can see that right on 4th and Chestnut. That's their garage. And you'll see their motor pools have the same thing. Who are we? And like I said, I don't have anything against this man, nor are any of you. But when it comes to government, it stays in here, and what stays here goes to where it has to go to make it work. He has, and I'll reiterate, he had every right to get what he can get from you, all of you. I don't blame him for a dime that he's getting. You can't state what the county says, that the taxes are going low. They spend at 0.4. You're telling us you want to save taxes, but you're not doing anything to cut the budgets, really cut the budget. Now, did we apply for the sidewalk grants that were available? Because, as you know, the sidewalks weren't put in, and we had to put them in for the children's safety. They should have been put in when the building was built, or the developers put in.
Those are, again, zoning, planning board.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying,
Okay,
but
right.
you oversee all that. That you
Well, we
have
can't-
the ultimate say.
You can't tell them how to vote.
But
You know
no,
that.
you can't, but if they're doing something wrong, it's incumbent upon you to say that you did this wrong and this has to be overturned, and you have that power. But yet it went through. Now, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, including our attorney, but he's not entitled to his own facts. And the facts are, and I'll reiterate, the mere discussion of township business constitutes a meeting. And you must abide by that. And I'll say it again, no one knew about that until you people mentioned it at that meeting, and then it was in the paper that Friday. Okay? No one ever said that, so you have that thing. Now the other is, when we sold that property on Route 9, we bought the property. Now, I do hope that, I know that was your office that did that. One of the councilman's offices handled that transaction, if I'm not mistaken. Did that councilman vote on that particular piece? Or we have two councilmen that actually have their license hanging up in that particular office, whether it be here or Forked River. That is an inference of an impropriety. It's worse than the impropriety itself. So I don't know if you voted on that or if you voted on that. So 3 of you voted on that $1 million that we spent. Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Now, are we going to look into the 1099 and all that, that's income.
Now, I thought, that would apply to, I'll have our
No, go ahead,
attorney look
go
into
ahead,
it. I
go
mean,
ahead. Let's-
1099, Dave's gotta, he can't claim it, obviously.
No,
And I'll ask, I mean, so your question is whether or not the township can claim it?
no. A 1099 is unearned income.
All right, well, he has,
Okay? That's unearned income.
Mr. Breeden has to file
No,
that.
no. He doesn't file a 1099. We do.
Well, we're in compliance.
We file a
Alright, Phil,
1099.
I'll
That's
make
the
sure-
same thing. You give Mr. Dasty a 1099 at the end of the year and or whatever IRS code it warrants for professional
I'll check with Mrs. Janeski,
services.
and I'm sure
It's a
that,
1099
okay,
form.
I'll follow up, but I don't
That
know.
has to go back in time. Now, I also have and heard, and I want to know this tonight. Who fills up the car? I'll be honest with you, you know I always am. The word has it that you send a public works director to fill your car up.
No.
Okay. You never sent the public works person to fill your
I
car?
never did, but,
Okay, you never did.
no.
Okay, now,
No, Phil,
okay, you said no, that's all. I asked you one question, you don't have to go with any, I don't ask you for an explanation.
no.
You said no, and I believe you.
At times when I was in a meeting, that the Public Works Department had my vehicle, they filled it up.
Okay,
I would say 90% of the time, I fill it up either in Barnegat
Okay.
or Waretown.
and where can? So you're using their gas too?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we need to get 1099s from them also, because gas, okay, is intermingled with his travel
We'll
to
stay
and
in
from work.
compliance with the law. I'll look into that.
Stay in compliance, let the people know, and it has nothing to do with David, because it has to do with anyone and everyone that has a 1099.
Okay, that's
That
not a
is
problem.
considered income
Not a problem.
from tolls, but I also want to know about the seals on the side of our vehicles.
I think just about every vehicle
No,
has,
his
except for,
There's a few that
I'd like to see it on his car.
that's not a problem, I don't think it's a problem.
You
It
think
won't
we
be a
can do
problem.
that?
Why not?
And we can put municipal government plates on it?
It's just, if it says Township of Barnegat on it.
No, MG plates.
Well,
That shows that
I'll
it's a
look into it.
municipal thing and shouldn't be used for personal errands. And this has nothing to do with you
No, I
personally.
understand, it's a valid question.
And I do tell you, I welcome, if you did it again, I'll do it over again. But I do hope that you learned a lesson, because if you go to the prosecutor, he'll tell you, I told them and said to them, I don't want you to fine these people. I want you to slap them on the hand and let them know they did wrong and don't do it again. But you opened your mouths,
No,
and,
all right, Phil, we'll
okay,
finish with
and I
that.
have to say it again, you guys are your worst enemy.
We have not been notified by the prosecutor's office.
That's right.
Before I called that press conference, I checked with our solicitor,
That's
and
fine,
he said
that's fine.
it was legal. So
His
that's it.
opinion, it was legal.
Well, that's what he gets paid
Depending
for.
upon what you told him.
Press conference.
You see,
All right, Phil, I don't want to
an
dwell on this.
attorney
You have another
only
question?
can answer a question or represent you if you tell him exactly what you're doing.
He knows exactly what we're
Did you
doing.
show him the documents that you were gonna
He knew
use? And
exactly.
he doesn't,
Phil,
he still thinks
He
that
did.
it's not,
He knew.
his
He knew.
opinion says that wasn't public business?
He knew,
If
absolutely.
that wasn't public business that was on, even in the questions, then what is public business?
The prosecutor.
No answer, you don't have to answer.
Right,
The
all
other
right.
question is, did we apply for the grants and for the sidewalks?
Did we apply for, yes, sir.
Yes, we did.
Did we get it?
No, we did not.
Why? Just ask one.
Wasn't selected.
Wasn't selected. I thought it was available for child safety. Okay. How many grants have we applied for, been turned down for, awarded, and will apply for? And I guess that's a public record, do you
We'll
know?
apply for everything, and I couldn't give you a count right
Can we
now.
see copy, is there a grant book? And the other one question, one statement is, do we follow the Equal Opportunity Employment Act?
What would you bring a question, absolutely.
Why? Because, I had to hire people at a radio station, and for me to do that, every time I had to post a job, you know how you post a job, a position? The book is, it's like a living document, it grows. You have to call the American Indian Association, you have to send a postcard. Not only with the letter, but a return postcard to ask them where they're going to post that job. Now, you receive federal money, and you're required to do that. And I advise you to do it, because there were jobs that people didn't even know about in the town next to us, that never even heard of that job, never even saw it in the paper. And I think it's a little bit nepotism. Not yet, but it could be nepotism, and more will come on that, okay? I couldn't hire
Phil, ask me a
I'll ask you a
question.
question. We have a councilman's fiance working in Waretown.
And that's
As a
Waretown's
shared,
business.
supposedly gonna be the shared
No,
services.
you're absolutely wrong.
Okay, but did Waretown advertise that
Go to
job
Waretown
properly?
and find out.
We have,
Go
well,
to
I have the
Waretown.
administrator right here.
Go to Waretown and
I
find
have the
out.
administrator right
Do you have
here.
anything you want to say, addressing?
Was that advertised properly?
Nobody was hired with regards to shared service monitoring or anything along those lines.
was the job position that I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about?
With respect to where,
Was it advertised in the proper manner according to the equal opportunity?
That's Waretown business, we're not discussing.
He's
it.
the administrator.
I'm not, this is Barnegat, we'll discuss
Shared
Barnegat.
services
Phil,
means we go.
Phil,
Okay,
please.
Okay, do I have to go to that meeting and ask it that
Go over
question?
there and ask the, go
Because
ask
I
the
know
mayor, you
those-
could call the mayor up and ask him.
You know,
I
and you
don't
people
know.
think we get up here
Phil.
and we just break them for you, we don't.
Phil, you've covered everything from,
But
I mean, ask
you
the
know, I
question.
would like a copy of that particular statement that you.
It'll be on the website,
It'll be on the website?
absolutely.
Good.
Thank you.
And I dare you, and one other thing,
Phil,
please, take me to court.
Phil, did
Take-
I name you
dare you
Phil?
to take me to
Phil,
court.
were you named?
Take me to court,
Phil, thank you,
and
Phil.
I'll do it again if I have to.
Anybody else, please? Mr. Pesci?
Forgot what he was gonna say.
I got the phone back.
Frank Petch, 11 Hemlock. Someone said in passing, I forgot what I was supposed to say. Philip made this point. A couple of things real quick. I don't think, Mayor, that you meant that the board hid that surplus money.
No.
That's what it almost inferred when you said they admitted to, yes, they admitted, not hiding it, they admitted it was there, because as you know, the title program's gonna be there, they can't use it, they can't spend it. This is, you had this at, Weirtown, and I kinda wonder why all this was done at Weirtown, since we are the generator of that service to them. I think that we should have had the opportunity, because Dave contract came out of there, could have had a better opportunity. I guess maybe you decided that it'd be better over there, that the meeting wouldn't last as long, where you wouldn't have people like myself get up. and
No, to the
question.
contrary,
I
it
don't-
was a packed house with more people here, because their concern was that Barnegat was taking over Waretown. These things are so delicate.
Well, okay. You know as well as I know, because you're in the education area. Shared services goes back to the 70s, and school districts were combining, and they still do. I mean, you got Weirtown going to Southern, so it's a sending district, and that happens. You had the Channel 1 program, where you got the TV sets by that company, and we used it. We had Chinese from Montclair to Clifton. Clifton had a program that Ridgewood didn't have. So there's been shared service on the island, there's been shared services. So it's nothing new in the state of New Jersey, shared services. Dave made one good point, is a lot of times you don't want to give up something like one police chief for, it's something like that. But if you're gonna share a truck, I don't think that there's much as an inert object, so they don't have much of a problem with it.
No, we're talking jobs, that's what we.
No,
that's what we-
well, 3 jobs, I don't see it, I'm not gonna debate it, I don't see what it said, $300-some thousand, but that's over 3 years. Dave said it tonight, it doesn't say that, so you wouldn't know that that is over 3 years.
Year and a
The
half.
garbage contract, one of the things is when our contract ran out, we were going year to year without a contract. So there was a problem there with escalating, maybe. Waste managers were bringing up the rate. Well, they weren't, but how come we didn't know about it? And certainly, when the more volume you have, it should go down. Waste managers should go down. They're one of the largest. But our tipping fees went up too. $600,000 in tipping fees. That's what's in the budget anyway. But I'm not, well, sure, because you don't get this material. Like you talked about the police contract. We didn't even know this contract is going on, and nothing has changed in our government, in our state, as far as the 2% caps and whatever. People are still having a hard time, and we just can't compound it by saying, well, they didn't get money, last year through that town, now we gotta give them money. But there are other things in that contract which, Al, I mentioned it to you, and Billy was there too. There are things within their contract that you got to address. because it means money. Longevity means money to them, but the people don't know you're giving them two, but they get a lot of money from, longevity. They get other stipends, they get college. So where you're saying we're saving money, let's be open about it and transparent and say, here's what this whole thing is gonna really cost. Because if I look at Birdsall's contract, I mean, how much they spent last year, $600 and some thousand. Dassey, $300 and some thousand. The chief, the police chief is 200. Dave's new contract's 200. I mean, where are we going?
On,
And you're
on
taking
date,
$5 million for the police, more than $5 million for the police department. So take those numbers
on date,
for the
okay,
budget.
just to interrupt you, Dave's contract costs the Barnegat taxpayers, all right, it's his base salary, and correct me if I'm wrong, 122.9, correct?
The net impact, but if you take into consideration the revenue
Waretown.
generated from Waretown.
Okay.
All right,
That was the
I'm
bottom
looking at
dollar.
those numbers. It went from last year to this year, almost $6,000. But when I look at the total amount of hours, 896 when I take what he's gonna work for Waretown, his vacation, his personal days, and his holidays. That's a lot of hours. Then in here, you're talking about 30 vacation days, but more importantly, the state recommends 3-year contracts. You give 5 with an option of going 6. So I look at this thing, and then you say, well, he's not gonna make any more money than X amount of dollars, but we're gonna take out of the $50,000 that we're supposed to benefit by Waretown sending us. He takes $12,500 out of that. That $12,500 is out to that base. And my problem with the contract, when I looked at this contract, is saying, well, what happens with this merit? After I get a total of almost $170,000, now I'm gonna have a group of people who are gonna determine whether or not he met his goals. Who's establishing the goals? And you see that happen, you know better than I do when they give the superintendent goals. They always make them or whatever, it always happens. Nobody's gonna say Dave didn't do a good job, and he's gonna get it. But then, on that merit, so he's gonna get a merit, and that's 1/7. What happens, is that base gonna change? So that following year, that base is gonna be bigger, and then again, is the merit on that? So you're really expanding, and it doesn't explain it in here. There's a lot of things in here that need to be, and I don't wanna take as much time as Phil, that need to be explained. I mean, I know contracts, and it's, to me, there's some problems in that. And they should have been addressed, because I look here, and I guess you guys saw it too, and that's an Egg Harbor, Little Egg Harbor. And here is a police retiring, okay, with $121,000 on unused time. We were not gonna get into that after we let the chiefs go and the police go. We are not gonna get into it, yet you provided for that in this contract. So,
No, we didn't.
oh yes you did. I'm not gonna argue it, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Pesci, I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor.
Come on now.
That's not an insult, calling me Frank.
I'm part of the family. Jake Taylor, 106 North Road. I want to thank Marty, as a man of his word. I got my comparatibles.
Just him?
Oh, and Alec there. But he had said at a meeting, and if he hadn't have done it, I would have said something. So I think I should say something that he did do it. He carried out what he said. On resolution, I got just a couple of brief questions and a couple of brief comments. On resolution 2001-50, where's that money coming from?
That's for the,
Coming out of the open space fund?
Yes.
100% out of the open space fund? So I want to notify you, I have a case going with the state. I
Yes.
want to make sure I give them the proper documents.
yes,
The only thing that's really kind of joshing in there is a couple years ago, Pesci and I stood up here about why we couldn't put curbs on Route 9 when you dug the whole street up. You put sewers on both sides and no curbs. So we said, why couldn't you put the curbs in? but we couldn't put them in on Route 9, but we could put curbs down on Lower Shore Road. Brilliant. Anyhow,
That's not curbs for Lower Shore Road. That's curbs for the turf football field. It's required for the installation. It's not curbing the road. It's specific for the installation of the field.
concrete curbing,
It's concrete curbing for the turf field, the AstroTurf field that's being installed. That's required in order for the AstroTurf to be properly anchored. There has to be specially designed curbing installed, which is required by the manufacturer. That's curbing for that. It's nothing for Lower Shore
it
Road.
says concrete curbing.
It does say concrete curbing, but it's not for the road.
Just in just to say, I'm not saying smoke and mirrors like Miriam, but like when, and I'm not going to win the Breeden's contract, Dave's contract, but where you say 159, then you add the 12,500. That's like misleading, because that's like a McMahon thing. You know, like he makes 171. Put 171. Don't try and confuse. You know.
No, it wasn't.
Well, it's like smoke and mirrors, you wanna say.
Thank
Like putting it like that is wrong. You know, the next time you write something, he makes 171, he makes 171.
Oh, that's not.
You know, that's it.
The 12.5,
Comes out of the 50.
But still,
I know what you're saying.
The reason why we did not make it 171, if something would happen next year, and I don't
Work and wear it down. and then-
work in Waretown, then 12,000 comes out.
if you don't work and work then I don't think you're gonna get 159. Anyhow, and then another comment, just one brief comment on that school thing that you happened to mention. I wasn't gonna mention it, you mentioned the school thing. I remember when we sold Block Hill property for $2 million, my property as a residence, you know how much that went back to the taxpayers? 0. I also remember when we sold a piece of the waterfront, $1 million. You know how much went back to the taxpayers? 0. Now, I've been through them things and sat here and took it. You know, that's why I'm bringing it out. So this is nothing new. That's $3 million that I know off the top of my head. That the township sold property belonging to me, and it dumped it into the general fund, or the trough, whatever you want to call it. And that was about it. One other question, Dave, on the raises, 212, 152. What's that, like, just the officers, like, I have the officers of police department, right?
15 officers, correct.
Yeah, I have that thing where they're divided.
It includes the 15 officers, which consist of detectives, sergeants, lieutenants, and a captain.
All right, and what's the percent raise?
1.95%.
Yeah, 1.95,
For
and
two,
there's no retroactive involved.
for 2011, they'll get the 1.95 in mid-December, so they get a raise for basically 3 weeks.
Couple weeks, all right.
Okay, then in 2012 and 2013, they'll get 1.95 each of those years. When you take into account 2011, 2012, and 2013, the total salary increase over those 3 years is roughly $77,000.
Yeah, I got that part, I wanted
And
to
then
make sure.
when you take into account the healthcare contribution they have to make, that will total roughly $105,000.
Yeah, well, everybody's gonna be making healthcare kind. You know, I just wanna bring up some of your I remember in a very short, wasn't very long ago, we were paying $35,000 an employee here. But you heard me up here beating the drum on it many times, so I congratulate somebody on at least getting our healthcare back where you can live with it. You know, I mean, it was so ridiculous it was out of thing. That's all I got out, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Clementi?
Boy, oh boy.
Mary Ann Clementi, 565 East Bay Avenue. First, I'd like to thank you for making me famous. I'm in the minutes. I'm proud to be in the minutes. However, I thought it was rather unprofessional for you to make the comments that you made.
What about your remarks in the paper? I mean, you
I have a
stated
right, I
me.
have a free.
I have the same right. I have the
You
same
are
right.
representing the
No, no.
township, you You are the mayor sitting up on the
You are not the
dais.
representative speaker
No, I'm
from
not,
the
but
Board of Ed.
I have an interest in the school board. I pay taxes to the school board, and I have every right to speak and present facts as I know them
Yes.
about things.
And so
And
do I.
everything that I stated is a fact.
Oh, I dispute that.
So I will continue to exercise
do
my,
whatever you
my,
want.
my right to free
And so will I.
speech. And you will not
And
shut
so
me down.
will I.
And you will not shut
I
me
didn't
down.
say I'd shut you down, but I will respond to you, especially when you keep
I have no
stretching
problem,
things.
I
I
have
don't
no
either.
problem responding.
I don't either.
The meeting that you had in Ware Town, and I'm gonna use that word smoke and mirrors again, because I think it's a nice term.
It's inappropriate,
And,
really.
and you didn't yell at Jake when he used it. But the shared services meeting, when you announced it at the last meeting, it wasn't, it was like a shared services meeting like you have at the school board, et cetera, not open to the public. This was a public meeting.
It was open to the public.
Definitely open to the public.
Yeah, but it didn't sound that way when
And
you
it was
guys were talking
advertised.
about it.
I believe it was on Nixle.
I didn't get an
I
Nixle.
thought it was on Nixle. but
It
I-
absolutely was not on Nixle.
It was on Nixle, I went, I attended it, you weren't there.
Yeah, I know I
Thank you,
was.
Jake.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.
Well, I didn't get it on Nixle. And I had the same question that Frank had. Why wouldn't you be presenting this at our meeting? Or at least at both meeting? This is, we pay the primary bulk of the contract for these things. And for you to have this in Ware Town just, doesn't make sense that you wouldn't have it in Barnegat.
Mayor, excuse me a second. And I think Dave should answer this because there were sensitive things going on at that time. Dave, if I'm not correct?
In order to have successful, long-term, meaningful shared service agreements with another town, you have to strike a balance. Once one town feels that the other town has taken them over, your shared service agreements will not be meaningful. In order to strike a balance, there has to be give and take. We struck that balance. The meeting that night had 70, 80 people there. I thought it was historic with regards to the shared service agreements that we entered into. We are saving significant dollars. We got the message from the taxpayers, smaller government, less cost. That's what we're doing.
In addition to that, if I may, and Jake will testify to this, I think, that the 10 or 11 people that got up, their biggest concern in Ware Town was that we were going to take them over. And that was the big concern.
And something, a rumor like that can ruin months, if not years of work in establishing these shared service agreements.
I'm not criticizing the shared service agreements. I think it's high time that we've done them. I mean, I've only been speaking about them since 2006.
And it takes a lot of work to accomplish them.
If we did not have Mr. Breeden as their administrator, this never happens. And the reason being is that they trust Dave, and then he was the only one that could have got it to the point that we got it.
I'm just stating the
Okay,
point now.
that's fine.
I'm just
That's
stating
fine.
the fact that you started moving on this. I mean, you just, every time I got up and talked about shared services since 2006,
It took you realize how much time it takes to do this?
you could, there are ways to, you talk dollars and cents, you advertise it to the people, you talk about how much money you can save taxpayers. There are ways to do it, believe me. You just didn't want to do it.
Oh,
So
that's,
the governor
see,
started,
this is
well,
ridiculous. You think every township would be doing this? It doesn't happen like that. There's some people that have egos, don't wanna let things go.
I understand that, I
And it's
understand
all, otherwise we wouldn't have, what is it, 566 municipalities?
566.
Right, I mean, nothing else is happening. We're moving the best we can in that direction. You're right.
All I'm saying is we could have done it sooner. I mean, you used to laugh at me all the
Nobody
time when I
laughed
get
at
up
you
and
with
talk
that.
about it.
No.
Every time. And I will talk a little bit about Mr. Breeden's contract. I mean, I'm
You got
gonna
any
say my
questions? Ask the
opinion.
questions, absolutely.
No, I'm very upset that there's a substantial increase in his salary. that $12,000 was not part of his salary before. That's a pretty big increase.
If we lose the Ware Town, he doesn't get that anymore.
I know, but it's like a big bonus. He's still working 40 hours a week, right?
No, he's working way
Hey, wait a minute,
Wilson's working 40 hours a week.
I work 16 and 18-hour days,
Well,
so
he
I
does
work,
too.
but I said that I worked a 40-hour, you know, when you have a significant job and you're in management, that's what's expected of you.
Right.
So,
No, I know.
that's, you know, you don't, yes, I know he works more than 40 hours a week, I'm using that as a
Okay.
frame of reference.
All right, but not in a
But-
negative sense, though.
No,
I
but
mean,
what I'm saying is you gave him a $12,000 increase. That is a pretty big increase in this time of economic struggle that we're in right now.
see, the one
And
thing.
we are in economic struggle.
Oh, yeah, bad. The one thing I
And
looked
you
at.
need to talk to your governor about the tax cut that he wants to give to millionaires now.
And you know something, I agree with you on that.
Now, on the shared services, the other comment that I wanted to make has to do with and I'm gonna say the school board again. How dare I speak about the school
So
board?
if you're gonna turn it into a joke, I'll ask you
No.
to sit down. Now,
Yeah,
ask your question, ask your
I have
question,
my right to
or you
ask.
want, not to dance, not to dance,
I'm
I mean,
not
you're ready to
dancing.
dance right
Am I
now.
dancing? Yeah, I don't think I'm dancing.
People, you're wasting people's time, ask the question.
Listen, you let Phil stand up here for 20
Ask the
minutes.
question, that's all I'm asking you to
The
do.
school board waste contract, why on earth are we still not talking to the school board? You negotiate from a position of strength. If you have Barnegat, you have Waretown, and you have the school waste. Why did we not include the school in that contract?
Number one, the township has been focused its energy and attention on establishing these additional shared service agreements with Ocean Township. It took a considerable effort over an extended period of time to accomplish that. Part of the solid waste contract is the school. I'd be more than happy to sit down with Mr. Allison. Mr. Allison and I have been speaking over the past couple of weeks with regards to providing UCC inspectors for their improvement projects, in addition to providing some financial paperwork that you needed tonight for a bond resolution. So I'd be more than happy to sit down with Mr. Allison and work it out. Thank you.
And I'll call them and ask them if they wanna sit down, we can get
Because
them.
they've wanted to over this past year.
Al, can I interject something here too? Over the past couple of years, while we sat at shared service meetings with the school board, which I sat out, sometimes Al was there, sometimes, you know, different. That was discussed, and the school knew very well that this contract was up for negotiation and for bid. And they had Pinto Brothers at the time, they had entered into a contract with them, then that contract had expired, they were going month to month with Pinto. They had every opportunity to piggyback onto this contract. Am I not correct, Dave?
Well,
We talked about it,
no.
Oh,
I mean,
I
I
was
was
there.
told that you guys kept canceling appointments and it was,
No, no, no,
you know,
no.
so this is
That has
what's
nothing to-
happening.
That has nothing to do with that, Mary Ann. What it has to do with, that was discussed many times at a round table with board members and township committee members and both administrators and the school
So
board
you're
superintendent.
saying that the school board failed,
No, we're not gonna say
you're
that.
saying that the school board failed to work with you to come up with a
No. What I-
joint.
What I will
shared
say
service.
is that if the school board wants, we will get them involved with that, we'll get them in.
You do
That's all.
fuel,
I'd
you
be,
do fuel.
We
I'd
do
be-
a lot of things with that.
Yes,
You've done fuel forever.
Dave, go ahead, yeah, any
I will be more than happy to speak to Mr. Allison. We have a solid working relationship. I believe that we will be able to accomplish it.
All right, but again, I'm gonna say that you're saying that the school board
No,
no.
refused.
No,
They say they
That's what it
We
sounds
did-
like.
we
Thank
did
you.
not.
It was
Thank
discussed.
That's what it sounds like.
Anybody else? Mr. Muriel?
Thank you, Angelo Murio, 852 Road. First, I want to thank you, Dave, for your reference regarding regionalization of shared services. How much do you anticipate savings to Barnegat taxpayers?
As I stated in the PowerPoint presentation, the shared service agreements that we entered into on February 8th for tax collector planning and zoning, and recreation. The three total position values for Barnegat was $311,000. Total position values for Ocean was $250,000. We estimate that Ocean Township employees will have to spend between 35 and 40% of their time. Start doing the math, you come up with significant savings, 6 figures. However, we have to go through a year to see exactly how much time they need to spend over here.
What do you anticipate approximately the bottom line?
Well over $100,000.
As someone who has suffered 60% raise in my tax over the last 5 years, I appreciate any effort you make to stabilize our taxes. But, it was brought to my attention, at my job capacity, I deal with the 566 municipalities throughout the state. I've dealt with about roughly 150, 200 of them. That includes zoning board officers, construction officials, fire officials, which I happen to be myself. And in my opinion, we have one of the top 10 zoning officers in the state working here in Barnegat. And I consider us very fortunate. So for the record, lady and gentlemen, I'm sorry to see Cynthia go. But what stuns me and confuses me, but does not surprise me, is that in a town of Barnegat size, and most towns have one tax assessor. Larger towns, some of the smaller towns share tax assessors. But in Barnegat Township, we have a well-staffed tax assessor office plus 2 tax assessors, a tax assessor and an assistant, in part of my North Jersey lingo, and an assistant
Deputy.
tax assessor. I was wondering why, as opposed to lose an extremely competent zoning officer, that there was no consideration of releasing one of those 2 tax assessors.
As I indicated in the PowerPoint presentation, we take this in phases or steps. And phase 5 will be a continuation of exploring of shared services between the 2 towns. As I said many times, everything is on the table.
I am not privy to the documentation of salary and wages, but I certainly would like to look at the cost regarding that of a very competent zoning officer. The 2 of the persons who are currently employed as 2 tax assessors within the same office, within the same township. And that I don't understand.
I want to make it clear we have 1 tax assessor and a deputy tax assessor. That 1 tax assessor is certified to do the job. It's my understanding the deputy is not certified. So,
Just for the record, most communities do not have a tax assessor and thank you for clarity, and a deputy tax assessor within the same office. Many communities share their tax assessor. In fact, most communities have on staff a tax collector. I understand the sharing is understandable, but I was stunned, but I'm not surprised that we have both a tax assessor and a deputy tax assessor, what we consider to keep, as opposed to relinquishing one of those 2 staff persons. And that I don't understand.
as I stated earlier, we build upon our successes. Everything's on the table. We constantly explore possibilities in which we can reduce costs, generate revenue, yet maintain an acceptable level of service.
Well, I appreciate your input, and you're an appointed official, so now I'm gonna turn to my elected body. Mayor Cerulli, do you have an opinion about this?
About what you just stated?
Yes, Mayor
Well,
Cerulli.
in some points you've enlightened me. And I will sit down with Dave, as I'm sure the rest of us will, and we will look into exactly what what we can do to what you just stated.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Motion to close public portion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
New business.
Approval of minutes for the regular township committee meeting of February 6, 2012, and special shared services meeting on February 8, 2012.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Raymond Musella?
Yes.
Edmund Moreno?
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiondo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy,
Yes.
Mayor Cirulo.
Yes. Formal action agenda,
Resolution 2012-126, resolution authorizing payment of bill list in the amount of $8,741,054.44.
Make motion?
Second.
okay, roll call,
Committeeman Lasella,
Yes.
Committeeman Morano,
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiondo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy,
Yes.
Mayor Cirulo.
yes, resolution 2012-127,
Resolution authorizing emergency temporary appropriations for the current fund. Motion to adopt?
So moved. Second?
roll call,
Committeeman Lasella,
Yes.
Committeeman Morano,
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiondo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy,
Yes.
Mayor Cirulo.
yes, resolution 2012-128,
Resolution authorizing emergency temporary appropriations for the water sewer fund. Motion to adopt?
So moved. Second?
roll call,
Committeeman Lasella,
Yes.
Committeeman Morano,
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiondo,
Yes.
Committeeman Deputy Mayor Billy, Mayor Cirulo.
yes, 2012-151, we're gonna add that one to the
No, just consent.
consent agenda,
The below listed items are considered to be routine by the Township of Hornicott and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no formal discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
do I have a motion?
Motion approved?
Second, roll call,
Committeeman Lasella,
Yes.
Committeeman Morano,
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiondo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy,
Yes.
Mayor Cirulo.
yes,
Resolution 2012-151, resolution authorizing Harrogate Township to advertise for 2 part-time positions for court clerk for the municipal court.
do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call,
Committeeman Lasella,
Yes.
Committeeman Morano,
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiondo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy,
Yes.
Mayor Cirulo.
yes, resolution 2012-152,
Resolution authorizing an agreement with Superior Officers Association for a 3-year period from January 1, 2011 through December 31, 2013.
So moved. Second?
roll call,
Committeeman Lasella,
Yes.
Committeeman Morano,
Same.
Committeeman Melchiondo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy,
Yes.
Mayor Cirulo.
yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
We're gonna stay here.